Every once in a while, we get a set of readings, and people will ask me if these readings were chosen for a particular reason, asking if we took them out of the usual cycle. I remember this happened one time last year, September 11th, 2011. And it just so happened that the readings that Sunday were all about forgiveness. And people after Mass could not believe this, that this happened to happen that way. Well, it did. And what a beautiful theme that was 10 years later. And I think today's readings, once again, not chosen for a special reason, but just happen to fall when they do, cannot be placed at a better time for us. When we look at these readings, of course, the first reading from Genesis and our Gospel from Mark, we know that it's all about marriage. What marriage is, how marriage came to be, and what marriage means. Now, you and I both know that you cannot drive around town, talk to your friends, go to work without hearing about marriage and what's going on with the upcoming amendment. Hopefully you noticed when you drove into church today that we even here at church are talking about marriage. Hopefully you saw our signs out front that say, vote yes, defending marriage between one man and one woman. Maybe you get the Star Tribune, and on the front of the cover this morning was an article about Archbishop Nienstedt and what he is doing to try to promote marriage between one man and one woman. I was able to read that article in between the two masses, and there's some very good points in there. But as always in the press, I think there's a lot of points in there that are completely wrong. But that's a different subject, right? Of course it is. All right, but today what I'd like to focus on is the marriage amendment once again. Now, I know in late August, Father Tom and I both were up here, and we preached about it. But we think it's important, again, to preach about marriage and what it means. In a particular way today, I'd like to focus on the goodness of marriage and how we should promote marriage in our life. Now, and some of the language that I'm going to use may be a little offbeat, maybe not used too much up here, but everything I'm getting for the most part, at least in the beginning of the homily, comes from the theology of the body, which was written by our great Pope, Pope John Paul II, in the 1980s. Now, if he could talk this way in the Vatican about the act of marriage, I think I can stand up here and talk about it as well in 2012. Some of the language might throw you off a little bit, but once again, this is meant to promote marriage and not to look at it as something bad. So with that, let us continue this homily, and just be aware once again, some of the language might not be used to, but I think it will make sense at the end. Now, as we look at the story of Adam and Eve, there are so many things that we can focus on. But in a particular way today, I would like us to take a look at how Adam was longing for someone to be with. He was longing to know someone. And because of this, what did God do? God provided Eve. When Eve was created, we hear how Adam responds. This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. And because of this, marriage is a unique relationship. It does what? It brings two human beings together. As Genesis states, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and the two become one flesh. They enter into this unique relationship that is set apart from all other types of relationships. In marriage, a man and a woman come to know each other. The two become one flesh. When Genesis refers to sexual intercourse as coming to know each other, it is not because it is shy in talking about the sexual act, but rather it expresses the depth of a married couple's sexual exchange. They come to know each other in a unique and a knowledgeable way. Through this bodily act, they celebrate the communion of their whole selves and come to know one another as persons made to love God, their Creator, including the power of bringing forth new life. Through this act, a married couple come to know their potential as father and mother. And this is discovered precisely through their sexual union. So we can see that marriage is a unique relationship, not only because it brings two people who love each other together, but because of this relationship, human life has the potential to come from it. Marriage between one man and one woman. And when they come to know each other, life can come from it. This is a unique relationship seen nowhere else but in the relationship of a marriage between one man and one woman. As I have mentioned many times before, and will continue to mention, the point of marriage is to help each other get closer to God, to glorify God. And in doing this, what you are doing is you are helping each other get to heaven. When two people enter into this unique relationship, they understand each other in a way that no one else does. However, we also know that people who are married can still cause each other to sin. Just take a look at Adam and Eve and how they both led each other into sin. We also know that marriage is not always easy. And this has been the case as well since Adam and Eve, and continues now. In the gospel, Jesus has asked the question, if it is lawful for a husband to divorce his wife. And Jesus' answer surprises many of his followers, because in the law they received from Moses, it said that it was fine to divorce. But Jesus says, what God has joined together, let no human being separate. So the answer that Jesus gives is that it is not okay to divorce, at least just because things are not working out how you want them to work out. When we take a look at some of the recent statistics, we can tell that marriage is not easy. And as a matter of fact, it's really, really hard sometimes. Because of this, some people may be scared to get married because they do not want to go through the hardships and the possibility of a divorce. So instead of entering into marriage, more people are choosing just to enter into relationships, but not fully committed. If they are getting married, more and more people are getting married outside of the church because they know that God will hold them to this commitment, to this covenant, and they are not ready to fully commit to this. So we can tell at this time that we are not only trying to defend marriage as between one man and one woman, but we also need to promote marriage as something good, as something that should be longed for. And how can we do this? Well, I can stand up here every single week and preach about marriage, but that's not going to change much. The way that we can promote marriage, the way that we can defend marriage is for married couples, you, the married couples of St. Ambrose, to live out your vocation in a way that is pleasing to God, in a way that is attractive to other people. And when you do this, someone will see you as a married couple. They will see in this relationship God. And they too will long for this. I do think that it is extremely important that we vote yes to the marriage amendment, upholding marriage as one man and one woman. But I also hope that we do not just vote on this, but that married couples actually live out their marriage in a way that God intends them to live it, which is as a total self-gift of a man and a woman for each other. And when this happens, then we will not only be defending marriage, but promoting it as well.